Thank you. Thank you for coming, and thank you for our members and continued sponsors. A special shout out to our annual City Club sponsors and today's forum sponsors, First Interstate Bank and Pinnacle Architecture. First Interstate Bank, you'll see the orange bags on your table. Your job is to take one home and fill it up and bring it back. Okay, and we'll tell you where to bring it at the very end. We are very excited to be bringing this important topic to you today. It is entitled, Together at the Table, a Community Conversation on Food Insecurity. I want to take just a minute to talk about the difference between food insecurity and food scarcity. Many people interchange those terms, and in fact, they mean very different things. When we talk about food scarcity, we talk about the availability of food. So people can't get to food, and this is typical in regions that are inhospitable to agriculture. So think Gaza, think Africa, think other geographies in the world where people don't have access to food. Food insecurity is being able to get to food. So the typical causes for not being able to access food versus availability to access food is from financial reasons. Individuals might not have the resources to get the food that they need or have access to transportation to get the food they need. So either buy it or get it. Today we're going to be talking about food insecurity. A couple of high-level stats looking at the region and the issue of food insecurity. In the state of Oregon, 13% of our population struggle with food insecurity, meaning they can't get to the food that is nutritious, that help them live a fulfilling and vital life. In Jefferson County, that number jumps to 15%. In Crook County, it's 14%. And in our very own Deschutes County, 12% of our community, or 25,000 people, struggle with food insecurity, 6,000 of which are children. We feel this topic is timely. Right now in Congress, they are deliberating the tax and spending bill. If food assistance funding is reduced by just 10%, the result is the closure of every food and pantry bank in the United States. The proposed target reduction right now is 26%, being deliberated by Congress. This is not about politics. We are not going to get into politics. This is truly about a federal assistance with funding for food, and we want everybody to know this is the timely topic where we need to all pull together and make up that deficit, make up the difference so that our neighbors and friends, those 25,000 people, are able to get the food that they need. We have the very top experts all gathered today. I want you to know that we called so many people that are doing incredibly important, critical, passionate, committed work to this topic that we're going to be discussing today. Our moderator is Carly Otten, right here. Carly is the Food Program Director for Neighbor Impact. We have a brilliant group of panelists, and right next to Audrey is Lindsay Staling, Director of Patient Support Services, Mosaic Community Health. Lindsay has some really interesting facts for you, as well as some great stories. Next to Lindsay is Audrey Tehan. Audrey is the Executive Director for Seed to Table, and she has a family story that will knock your socks off. On the other side of Audrey is Renee Staley, Executive Director for the Giving Plate, which I think so many of us and you all contribute to, and she has a message of hope and dignity that will bring a tear to your eye, no question. At our table right here, we have representation from High Desert Food and Farm Alliance, Central Oregon Health Council, Neighbor Impact, Oregon State University, Locavore. We have all the experts in our community right here. They're available for your conversation. So with that, we hope that you're able to join us and walk away with a greater scope, a greater understanding of the scope of the issue. Secondly, to hear what these amazing people at the table and on the panel are doing around innovative solutions to address the challenge. And third, and as importantly as anything, what you as individuals can do to join us in helping our friends and neighbors reduce that number of 25,000 people. So, okay, with that, thank you for coming, and I'm going to introduce Carly, who's going to take it from here.
Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today about an issue that is both pressing and deeply human, food insecurity in Central Oregon. Again, my name is Carly Otten, and I'm the Food Program Director at Neighbor Impact. I've been in my role now for 10 years, and before that, worked for Redmond School District in school nutrition, including free and reduced school meals. I want to take a moment just to give a little background on the structure of food banking. Neighbor Impact is the regional food bank for Central Oregon, including Deschutes, Jefferson, and Crook counties, and the Confederated Tribes of Warm Springs. Our main role is to oversee and provide food to 57 partner agencies across our service area that provide free food directly to folks. Last year, we distributed 4 million pounds of food to roughly 80,000 people a month. So for thank you. So for context, 4 million pounds of food is over 100 semi-truckloads of food, if that helps. So Feeding America is our national entity, and Oregon Food Bank, or OFB, is our, out of Portland, is our state entity. So the structure is Feeding America, Oregon Food Bank, a regional food bank like Neighbor Impact, and then we have partner agencies like the Giving Plate here, Family Kitchen, Shepherd's House, Bethlehem Inn, and many more. And we all play very important roles in getting food from farmers and food producers to the plates of our neighbors. And when we think of Central Oregon, we often picture its stunning landscapes, amazing recreation, and growing economy. But beneath that beauty lies a quieter crisis, one that affects thousands of our neighbors every day. Food insecurity is defined as the lack of consistent access to enough food for an active, healthy life. And it's not just about hunger, it's about uncertainty. It's about parents skipping meals so their children can eat. It's about seniors choosing between groceries and medication. It's about students struggling to focus in class because they haven't had breakfast. In Central Oregon, there were over 930,000 trips to food pantries and meal sites alone this past year. So let me give you an example of a friend of mine. She's a full-time middle school science teacher here locally, 2 small children, a mortgage, and a husband that was laid off when his school, who is also a teacher, made budget cuts. In between jobs, he's picking up tutoring shifts to make ends meet. And she told me, I never thought I would need help, but when I went to the mobile pantry for the first time, I realized I wasn't alone, and there were a lot of people that looked just like me. My kids get to pick the fruit and vegetables from the truck. Everyone is super friendly and welcoming, and we're always able to make multiple meals from the food we pick up. So this brings me to my next point. The face of food insecurity here might surprise you. Many times it is wrongly assumed that food banks provide food only to the houseless and unemployed communities. That is an important part of the services we provide, serving nutritious, healthy food and meals to folks that might not know where their next meal will come from, with dignity and non-judgment in a safe environment. That is at the core of our mission. And it's also working families, our senior community, veterans, and children. In fact, in Central Oregon, 35% of folks that visit a food pantry are employed, 36% are children, and 13% are seniors out of the workforce. So in reality, that only leaves about 16% of people unemployed seeking out food assistance. I met once with Linda at a free food market in Metolius. She had baked banana bread and brought it in to share with volunteers and other clients. We got to talking and she told me her background story. She is a retired career nurse that sold her 3,000 square foot home in Lake Oswego to bail her daughter out of debt, moved into a manufactured home in Madras, and subsisted on $1,200 a month. She told me the food she received from the pantry was how she fed herself most days of the week, and she could absolutely teach me how to stretch a pork loin out over 4 dinners. Her story, or those like hers, are becoming more common here in Central Oregon. In 2018, we recorded 340,000 individuals served through the food bank. During COVID, there was a peak of folks being served, and numbers were approximately 680,000. And then there was a leveling off, and those numbers stayed relatively stable. Safety net programs were working. There were extended unemployment benefits, child tax credit, universal school meals, and max allotments of SNAP, which is formerly known as food stamps. Childhood poverty decreased by nearly a half in 1 year in 2021, the lowest rate at 5.2% on record. Then these safety nets began to expire, and that rate sharply increased in 2022. None more impactful on food banks than the max allotment of SNAP benefits going away. The rates of folks visiting pantries and meal sites began to rapidly increase, and we haven't seen any relief since. Remember when I said in 2018 that 340,000 people were served in a year? In 2024, we served 930,000 individuals. That's a 174% increase in folks seeking food assistance. Of course, many of us know that several local factors exacerbate the issue. High cost of living, especially housing and grocery store prices, livable wages, child care costs, underemployment, and limited transportation, to name just a few. As demand rises, food banks are feeling the pressure with cuts to federal funding and food that were put in place back in March. The U.S. Department of Agriculture issued a payment freeze to the Commodity Credit Corporation, what we call CCC, programs, and closed food bank orders indefinitely. The CCC helps food banks by purchasing surplus agricultural products and distributing them to communities in need. These commodities are often the backbone of food pantry offerings. Shipments of food from the USDA program have been cut, including mainly meat, dairy, eggs, and produce. For Neighbor Impact and its partners, this has meant a 25% cut in highly nutritious food supply to the tune of over 500,000 pounds. A food pantry coordinator in La Pine shared that when CCC food support drops, we see it immediately. Sometimes we do have to limit those that are coming through to 2 bags or 2 boxes instead of allowing them to take what they need. Additionally, we are anticipating the real possibility of SNAP cuts. And while I believe so much in the work that food banks do, ultimately, SNAP is the most effective program in fighting hunger. As of September 2023, over 33,000 individuals receive SNAP benefits here in Central Oregon. With the proposed cuts for a family of 3, this could mean losing about $160 each month, which is about a week's worth of groceries. Some analysts suggest that the average SNAP benefit could fall to less than $4 per person per day, or roughly $1.60 per meal. The average cost of a meal in Deschutes County is $4.20, so you can see the significant shortfall. These changes would disproportionately impact rural communities, like many of ours here in Central Oregon, where access to support services and resources is already stretched thin. Cuts to this program would push many families from food insecurity into full-blown crisis. Many of you are familiar with the actress Viola Davis. She has been public and vocal about growing up in poverty and hungry. She remarked that she would jump in a trash bin with maggots, look for food, and would steal from the corner store because she was hungry. Recently, she remarked on social media that she and 5 of her siblings were the beneficiaries of SNAP and WIC. It was a lifeline, exclamation. Proof that hunger relief programs are an essential part of providing opportunities for folks to not only survive, but thrive. She went on to become the first Black actress to win an Oscar, Emmy, and Tony, and is an ambassador for the Hunger Is campaign, working to eradicate child hunger in America. We are also now seeing potential federal and state cuts to school meal programs, a lifeline for thousands of children in Central Oregon. For many students, school breakfast and lunch are the only reliable meals they will receive all day. Cuts to these programs would again disproportionately affect low-income and rural students, increasing absenteeism, lowering academic performance, and deepening the cycle of poverty. I will never forget the day while working in school nutrition that an elementary school student in Terrebonne hid his moldy mayonnaise sandwich from me at the lunch table in fear of the shame he might experience. It was in that moment that I understood this is bigger than nutrition. It's about survival and it's about dignity. It's about making sure kids, families, and individuals don't have to face the world on an empty stomach. The good news here is that in Central Oregon, we are not standing still. Organizations like Neighbor Impact, High Desert Food and Farm Alliance, all these amazing folks you see here on the panel and at these tables, are working tirelessly to meet immediate needs and build long-term solutions. Innovative programs like mobile food pantries, farm gleaning events, and advocating to retain universal school meals are making a difference. But this need still outpaces the response, and federal cuts to SNAP and school meals would only widen that gap. Food is a basic human right. No one in Central Oregon or anywhere should have to wonder where their next meal will come from. I'm looking forward now to having a conversation with this amazing panel on how we commit to building a region where everyone has access to the nourishment they need to thrive. Let's turn compassion and education into action and awareness into impact. Because when we feed our neighbors, we feed our future. All right. And now I am going to hand it over to Lindsay. She is with Mosaic Medical. She is going to talk about the community health impact of food insecurity.
Hello, everyone, and thank you, Carly. My name is Lindsay Staling, and I am the Director of Patient Support Services at Mosaic Community Health. It's my pleasure to be here today to speak to the profound impact that food insecurity has on our communities, and these effects go well beyond the immediate experience of hunger. Its impacts span individual health, societal well-being, and long-term economic development. There's a reason that we say food is medicine. Many diseases can be prevented, improved, or made worse based on our access to food. We call these diet-modifiable diseases, things like heart disease, diabetes, high blood pressure, even osteoporosis and tooth decay. Diabetes, for example, is a very serious and widespread health condition in the United States. It's the leading cause of death and disability, and diabetes significantly impacts the quality of life of those who live with it. It also has financial burdens, not only on the individual, but also the healthcare system as a whole. I've actually seen estimates, I think from the CDC, that say as much as 1 in every 4 healthcare dollars we spend is attributed to diabetes and its health consequences. And food insecurity leads to anxiety and depression. Not knowing when or where our next meals will come from can lead to toxic stress, especially in children. You heard Carly talk about the impact of kids in schools, and we must remember those critical first early years of life from 0 to 5, where the most brain and bone development is happening. These long-term deficits when children are going hungry impact them across the lifespan. Hungry children do worse in school, they have more behavioral concerns, and shorter attention spans. Hunger affects their concentration, their ability to learn, and their memory, which impacts their future. If children do not get access to adequate nutrition, we also see higher rates of obesity, high blood pressure, and diabetes as they grow older. That also increases our healthcare costs and decreases their life expectancy in the long run. When children don't have enough nutritious foods, they get sick. And when they get sick, parents have to stay home to take care of them. In adults, the cost of hunger goes beyond those lost work days, and absenteeism impacts their employers. Older adults experience tooth pain, tooth loss, and many have poorly fitting dentures due to bone loss. Unfortunately, far too many older adults in our community are going without food because of that pain or their fixed income. And it's really difficult for them to get to the grocery store as they lose their independence. Food insecurity across all populations increases health risks and health conditions and increases hospitalizations. Food insecurity is very complex, and it's driven in part by income inequality, the high cost of living, and systemic barriers. It costs us billions in healthcare and lost productivity. Here's the thing that I have to remind you of. Any one of us can have our financial stability changing. We are one job loss, one accident, illness, or injury from finding ourselves in need, like the many people who visit the food pantries we're about to talk about. Without access to enough nutritious food, people are getting sicker, they're unable to go to work, they're unable to care for their families, and that is creating a cycle in our communities that's hard to break. Hunger prevention isn't just a charitable cause that we can all feel really good about. Addressing hunger through policy, through community partnership, and through integration with the health sector can and will improve individual and community health and well-being. Hunger prevention is an investment in our shared future. Thank you.
Okay, now for the fun part. We get to talk with these lovely ladies doing amazing work. So I'm gonna start off first by asking Audrey to briefly describe your organization, your farm, and one or two key programs addressing food insecurity.
Great. Thank you both so much. My name is Audrey Tehan, and I'm the founder and executive director of Seed to Table, and we are a nonprofit education farm based in Sisters. Two of our main programs are our Feeding Families food distribution program. So from our 4-acre organic farm, we're growing about 100,000 pounds of fresh produce each year, which is distributed to about 2,200 people each week. And this produce is distributed through 13 different community partners, and also like many of the people up here and in the room today. And then we also have a sliding scale produce share, or you may be familiar with a CSA, where families and individuals are coming each week to the farm to pick up their produce that is grown. They're meeting the farmers there, and those individuals are choosing the price that works the best for them given their situation at the moment. And so with our food production, we're growing about 30 different types of varieties. And as many of you know, Central Oregon is incredibly difficult to grow produce in. We live in a food desert due to our climate, our how far we are from other food markets, and it creates a even more difficult scenario to get that really high quality fresh produce in. And so we have a team of 6 amazing farmers out there who are growing a lot of food. We have tomatoes growing up to 15 feet high in the greenhouses. We have some biotherm heating going on, and just a lot of hard work out there to grow some produce. So the second program that we have that really weaves all of this together, especially going off of Lindsay's points with our kids, is community health. And our pre-K through 12 education programs brings about 1,000 students out from all throughout Central Oregon in a in-depth learning pathways that they're engaging with the farm and with our staff about 5 times a year. Just in their in-school programming, and then they come out in the summer as well. And the students are getting to taste, harvest, cook, learn how to make salad dressings. They are getting to explore the farm ecosystem that is standard aligned with their teachers, with what their teachers are teaching as well. And so with that, I just, the other day a student came up and said, oh my gosh, this kale tastes like bubble gum. And I was like, oh, well, that is wonderful. However however that kale gets in there, that's great. And so that's not happening all of the time. Not all students are loving kale, but we're finding that that continuous involvement in our programming is increasing their vegetable consumption by about 20% on a daily basis. So that's about 1 serving a day. And then it's also making them 3 times more likely to try new fresh foods. And usually they develop at least 1 or 3 new vegetables that they like each time they come. So it's really about also making sure that those students, when they come out and they find their newfound love for spinach, yay, that we are making sure that their families are also connected to that, that spinach is in the fridge for those students to eat. So their families are also referred to us through different community partners where their families are then part of our produce share, maybe recipients at the local food pantries. So,
thank you. Renee, please let us know all about your organization.
All right, well, thank you. So my name is Renee. I'm the executive director of the Giving Plate, and we're a 15-year-old organization started in 2010 by my parents. And it was after 2008 recession when our own family had been impacted and we were trying to rebuild our lives that we were realizing there was a big need. And the face of hunger were people just like in this room, people like our own family. And we didn't want to just open another food pantry, but wanted to open a space that was an extension of our family, thinking that maybe we could meet the need and help 500 families. Well, we did that within a few short months in that first year and have been growing ever since. And we now have 4 hunger relief programs. And just last April 2024, we opened a community store located in Bend. It's across from the Ben Friend Myers in Reed Plaza. And in that store, we house our grocery program and our Kids Corner Market. In the heart of that store, we want to do food with excellence and provide food with dignity and compassion. And if you come into that space, you'll see it's gorgeous. It's a beautiful place. Because we're really passionate that just because people are going through hard circumstances, it doesn't mean they're worth less than. But yet, our society, we carry that weight of shame because of our circumstances, and we think that just because we're going through something hard, that there's those stigmas out there, like just beggars can't be choosers, or just be grateful for what you get. And we want to show people that they're worthy of good things, because I truly believe that when someone believes that there is light at the end of their hard tunnel, that they won't need the Giving Plate. And so we want to do food with excellence, and we are serving just shy on average this year about 2,000 families a month in our grocery program, which is over 6,000 people visits. And then our Kids Corner Market, where kids get to come in and play, and they have their own shopping experience. It's kind of like a kids museum, and they get to take the food home with them. And they get so excited, because one little child tried to give me the food back. I was like, no, you get to take it home. He's like, oh, this is the best day ever, and then wanted to tell all the other kids. But it's so empowering, and we call that feeding hope. Letting them know there can be joy, even in hard spaces. Doesn't have to all feel heavy and hard. And so we're averaging about 1,100 visits to our Kids Corner program a month, and then coming into summer, we know that's gonna grow quite a bit. But yeah, we talk about fighting hunger and feeding hope, and really both are equally passionate in the work that we do.
Awesome, amazing, thank you, everyone. I'll just touch briefly. I've already kind of explained Neighbor Impact's role here. A couple other programs that we offer. We have a mobile food pantry. It is a beautiful refrigerated box truck that folks can shop right from. We have 12 different locations. We are on the road 4 times a week. It is about 8 to 10 products. 6 of those are fresh produce. The others are meal building staple items. It's all shopping styles, so folks just walk up to the truck and shop for what they need. We are serving about 3,500 individuals a month out of this beautiful truck. We try to focus on areas and organizations where people are already at. So we partner with a lot of schools, library, Latino Community Association, the Senior Center. So that's one of our programs. We also do a home delivery model called Fresh Express. It's out of Redmond. So for folks that cannot make it, are homebound, we deliver on Fridays, the same menu that we have out of our mobile pantry. So that is another part of some of our direct client services. So now I'm going to hand it over to Lindsay. She can tell us about her organization.
Mosaic Community Health is a nonprofit community health center. We serve over 30,000 Central Oregonians at 16 community health centers throughout Bend, Redmond, Madras, Prineville, and Sisters. And we're providing care to anyone regardless of income or insurance status. We have a team, my favorite team, the team I support, the community health workers. They work with patients to identify their barriers to health and wellness, and they actually will go to people's homes delivering food that we pick up at these pantries. They will help people understand the public benefits that they're available to get. They'll help them get their prescriptions and things like that. And they love when they get to visit the Giving Plate and say hi to our friends over there. We also have 3 registered dietitians. They meet with patients one-to-one to provide the nutrition education that they need for their specific health conditions. And then those nutritionists partner with partners like OSU Extension down here to deliver group education about planning meals, shopping smart, saving money, and just that basic stuff. So not everybody learns how to prepare food safely or make food taste good. So we do those group classes across our clinics. And because hunger is so easily hidden, we screen all of our patients annually for a variety of needs: housing stability, transportation needs, and food security, using the hunger vital sign questions. This allows patients to let us know if they're being impacted by these social determinants of health, and then we're able to more proactively engage with them about their health care and the resources and supports they might need. This led us to conversations with Neighbor Impact, and in 2019, we had the Fresh to You mobile pantry launch at our Prineville clinic, and it allows us to refer patients to programs like the High Desert Food and Farm Alliance's VeggieRx program, or the program that you heard Audrey talk about.
Amazing, thank you. Renee, do you mind if I start with you? Next question.
Okay.
What is the biggest challenge facing the Giving Plate related to food insecurity right now, and how is it changing your strategies?
So the biggest challenge we're encountering right now is the growth and the rate of growth that we're experiencing. So we've seen steady growth since we've opened. 2020 was really a big spike in growth, and then 2021 was our only year where we started to decline, and it was just like the settle out of all of, there was a lot of government help at that point. And then 2022, Carly mentioned it when she was speaking, is when all of the government funds, kind of, I call them the Band-Aids, were being taken away, and the numbers just started jumping. So I was looking, I have some numbers to give. 2021, we were helping about 7,000 families a year in our grocery program. 2022, it went to 9,800. 2023, 13,100. 2024, 18,350. From January to May, we've already helped 9,927 families, which is on track to be a 30% increase to what we did last year. That's just one of our 4 programs. That is substantial increase year after year, every year seeing that level of increase keeps me on my knees in prayer, figuring out how do we do this work. But I have so much peace and confidence because we are grassroots and we've had to grow through the community. We're fortunate to get support from the USDA and Neighbor Impact, which makes up about 28% of the food that we give out, and the rest is from the community. So we have the Green Bag program. First Interstate Bank has launched the orange bags, and then you guys support us and champion us and have allowed us to grow. But as these cutbacks are coming to other agencies who rely on government funding, we know the pool of funding is limited. And so just to remind our community that you guys have empowered us to be the organization we are. And it's through the support that you continue to give, filling an orange bag or coming in and volunteering or giving financially, that helps us do the work we're doing. The other challenge I just want to touch on that is more of like breaking the stigma challenge. So I'm sharing about the growth challenge, but there's another challenge that weighs heavy on me is the false mindset that food insecurity is for the houseless. And it really makes an impact on people and the shame they carry to show up. I just posted on social media and then shared out an email because for over a month I've been carrying a story of a mom who has 2 school-aged children. And she shared with a staff member that they just had to start coming to the Giving Plate a couple of months ago, and they've never had to use resources before, but they were coming. Her kids had no idea they were going to a food pantry. They thought the Kids Corner Market was super fun, and they were coming and getting the help, and the mom hadn't needed to share with her kids the story of what the family was actually going through, what the parents were actually carrying. And then there was, in their classroom, they did a food drive for the Giving Plate. And in the teacher's effort to explain what the food was being used for, she shared with the kids that it was for homeless families who had no money. And the kids went home and they said, "Mom, why are we going to the Giving Plate? We're not homeless. We're not poor." And what she didn't have a heart to tell them was that they did need the help. Because at the Giving Plate, over 94% of the people who walk through our doors are actually housed, working on fixed incomes, seniors. We do help houseless community, but our model isn't set up necessarily to best serve the houseless community. And so that really just shatters my heart because there's 2 kids. I sent that out, and I got an email from another person who said, "This could be my story exactly." Just started coming to the Giving Plate. The same thing happened. My 2 older kids, my littles will still come, but my olders won't. So really, I know we share and we're passionate to share a message. Just make sure what you're sharing is accurate because you never know who's listening. And now, I know if we can get that right message out there, we can get ahead of this and continue to help people. And that's where a real big passion in my heart.
Thank you for sharing. Audrey, what is the biggest challenge facing your organization?
Yeah, so many of them are similar to Renee's stories, and so many stories up here as well of just the exponential growth, especially since 2020, and not being able to provide enough fresh produce. Because at this point, I don't know where we could stop it growing fresh food for our community. And so I just resonate a lot with that demand and that growth, and having to think about sometimes, am I going to have to turn away this request for fresh food because we don't have either enough that we're growing or we don't have the funds to back that food up through our community donation programs. And so I think just that growth is hard to keep up with. A big thing that we face too is just the demand in our education programs. We're one of the only programs of this type in the region, and that really does this multifaceted approach where students are really engaging on a deep level multiple times throughout the school year. And so we get so many requests from teachers and just currently don't quite have the capacity and have to go about that growth super intentionally to make sure we have the sustaining resources behind that. And so we're making sure that once a teacher is in that program, that we are able to make sure those students are going through that experience with us, because we're really trying to provide that depth for actual habit change with those students, where they're exposed multiple times over a couple of years, and we're finding that that is really powerful. So the students, I wish we could host every student in Central Oregon out on the farm, because we know that the school resources are just so tight, and so often we're some of that only lessons in nutrition or fresh food introduction that students are really getting. And then lastly, I just think of the growing food in Central Oregon and having the resource available for those who need it from the area is so critical to our food insecurity. There's so many different factors that we need to support all of these different entities. And so being able to really have people invest in those local food industries, that it makes us so much more resilient, especially smaller farms like ourselves. We can be really nimble and pivot to support a lot of smaller organizations in the area. If the other day Central Oregon Council on Aging called and they needed, like 100 heads of lettuce, and so we were able to kind of pivot and have the staff to be able to provide that resource for them, or for two of the really small food pantries and sisters that don't have quite as robust of a support network. And so having the resources and the infrastructure and just the sheer tenacity we have no problem with the tenacity with the farmers that are out there growing the food, but it takes a lot of perseverance. And so having the infrastructure that allows us to grow food and provide that vital resource in this community is really important as well. So just making sure that our community is investing in helping support that.
Awesome, thank you. And Lindsay, how about for you?
Well, as we've started to screen our patients for food insecurity, we found that 1 in 4 self-disclose that they don't have enough food to eat, or they run out before they get more. So we are really relying heavily on the food partners here and the food partners in our community. We're also pretty worried right now about potential cuts to Medicaid and SNAP benefits. Over half our patients receive Medicaid, and as we talked about earlier, if you're stretching your budget, you might be eating more affordable foods. They might be less calorie dense, or more calorie dense and less healthy, nutrient dense. And so that's gonna play out in people's healthcare costs and access to that. And about 40% of people who are on Medicaid or the Oregon Health Plan access SNAP benefits, the Supplemental Nutrition Program, which is, as Carly said earlier, the greatest hunger prevention tool at our fingertips, because it allows people to get the foods that they need for their unique needs. And so we're pretty concerned about the risks to our food system, the risk to public benefits here, and we already have to work pretty hard to overcome the stigma that Renee talked about, to get people to sign up for these programs, to enroll their students in free and reduced lunch, and to really take advantage of the opportunities that they have to get more nutritious foods into their diet and stretch their budgets. We all know how expensive things are here. So those are things we're worried about, and our strategies are really just normalizing asking these questions, normalizing accessing public benefits, and taking the opportunity to really advocate to make sure that the partners that we rely on will still be here when our patients need them.
Absolutely, thank you. Okay, ladies, we have just a few minutes till we pivot to Q&A with our lovely audience. So I'm wondering if you could give us each a quick elevator pitch on what is your organization's biggest need or call to action. And Renee, I'll start with you.
Well, I would just say at this point is continuing to remember that you have neighbors next door that are in need, and they're often silently suffering. And I know we can live in our bubbles, but just we all, if every single person in this room did something for an organization that's close to your heart, we can make a big impact together. And I've seen that happen over and over. So just inspiring you guys and encouraging you to each take action when you leave today. And whether that's the Giving Plate or Seed to Table, Mosaic, Neighbor Impact, there's many other organizations here that are worthy, but the giving food is huge. The food donations that we receive at the Giving Plate give us a market-like feel, because when we take our dollars, I've learned how to make dollars rubber. I can stretch them kind of far, but I go to the store, or we go and buy bulk, and so it's all the same food, all the same cereal, all the same canned beans, but when the community supports, it brings variety into the stores, into the market, and it feels really normal, and it allows people to get the kind of food that meets their dietary needs, if they have special diets or they're diabetic. So that is a common one, but I just think the biggest thing is let's all just do something, and together we really can we can bring hope to our community together. I really believe that.
Thank you. Audrey, your elevator pitch.
Well, there are so many incredible ways to get involved, and so I echo Renee and just find a way to get involved and spread the word also about getting involved. I think that can be one of the most powerful things is to, if you heard something here that really hit you today and you know that that would resonate with somebody else that's not in this room, sharing that network, sharing about an organization and learning is so incredibly powerful, expanding that network. And so for Seed to Table, that looks like you can get involved by donating, you can come out and you can help harvest, you can help weed, you can help deliver produce, you can be a volunteer at the farmers market, which is another program that we run, helping those individuals in our community connect around fresh food. And then you can also get involved by coming out and touring our farm as well and just learning more about how local agriculture can feed and can be a huge support in feeding our local community as well.
Thank you. And Lindsay?
I think at Mosaic, we would just urge each and every one of you to use your voice to protect public benefits, access to Medicaid, access to supplemental nutrition assistance, access to WIC, free and reduced lunch. Those are investments in the health of individuals and the health of our community, and to lose those would be to really wreck an already fragile healthcare system. So we would love for you to lend your voice to those causes, or any cause or any agency that is working on food access here in Central Oregon, because we want our patients to have the resources that they need to stay healthy. And an investment in our health and well-being is an investment in our shared future.
Thank you. So as we walk away from this part of the forum, action items, donations of money, donations of food, donations of time. If something here resonates and you're comfortable making phone calls or sending emails to your local elected officials, please have your voices, make your voices heard. If everybody walked out of here, as Renee said, doing something, that would be a huge impact here for Central Oregon. So thank you. And now we would like to open it up for audience questions.
All right, over here.
Hi, I'm Billy. Just saying you had the perfect opportunity to do the funniest thing ever and just not serve lunch today. That just to prove a point to us. But all right, that got a little laugh. All right.
I get it. Did everyone hear that?
Not every joke's good. All right. But I just wanted to, I was thinking this whole time, like, there's this interesting dichotomy, or I don't know if it's a dilemma, where the same demographics that are experiencing food insecurity also are experiencing, like, obesity epidemics as well. And it's like, how do we square that away? Like, what are we doing with that? And also, I don't know, my mom was a first grade teacher, retired now, and mainly she'd just tell me every day, like, a lot of these kids that are, like, food insecure in town, usually what's happening is that, you know, mom or dad comes home from work, they go to the corner store, get some cigarettes, the kid gets a bag of Doritos, that's all the kid eats that night, and then they come home to school the next day, and it's like, oh, what'd you eat for dinner? Oh, Doritos. What'd you eat for lunch? Doritos. How do we solve that? Like, how do we reach out to those people to make sure those kids are having, like, healthy dinners, lunches, et cetera?
Thank you for the question, and certainly join in team here. I think there's a few things. Food needs are nuanced, right? Not everyone has the financial resources to buy the foods. Not everyone has the access to the places to go get those foods if we're in a food desert. And not everyone has the skills. Not everyone has learned how to prepare and cook healthy meals or has the time or energy. I think about families working multiple jobs. That's a lot of effort and energy for each of us to prepare a meal every night. So I don't begrudge families that are doing the best that they can. And when children are hungry or when children don't get access to those nutritious foods, we do see the correlation later in life with those health consequences. And I think it's on all of us to create the food network, the food structure, the food resources, the educational opportunities, like you heard Audrey talk about, to work together to make healthier options easier for people to access. And I guess that's where I'll close.
Yeah, and I'll just add on, I completely agree with Lindsay. Coming from a school nutrition background as well, that's why I think, supporting and protecting universal meals is really important in school programs because, as I mentioned earlier, sometimes those are the only meals they get. And our school districts here, I know Ben Lapine School District is here, I believe, but they do so much from scratch cooking, and then there's also this debate about sometimes, as you mentioned, that food insecure children may only know fast, easy, convenient foods, right? But in schools, they have the opportunity with the fruit and veggie bars to be able to have that exposure, or going to Audrey's farm to see these first, they have these first exposures to fresh food. It is all about that early intervention, and that happens a lot through the schools. And whether that is at the school or through an outreach program, I think it is. You're right. It is if the child is used to eating very convenient foods, but they know they'll fill their belly, they might not want to try the hummus platter at school, right? But I think that's where we continue to support our universal school meals and outreach programs like Audrey's.
I will say at the Giving Plate, the bulk of our funding goes to providing the perishables. So we have a section with fresh produce and dairy. We get food from Eberhard's. We get produce from High Desert Produce. High Desert Food and Farm Alliance brings us stuff. But that's about $30,000 a month that we're spending on just that. And so when you think about like the cost of eating well requires a community to champion that, and we just need those of us who have the capacity to give and support, so we're not just putting shelf-stable items into pantries, but we're making fresh produce available and fresh food available so that we can teach them. Our Kids Corner Market is all about empowering kids. They get fresh food in there, and they get to pick it out, and we're asking them, what do you like? And so it's a soft educational touch, but it's starting to give them a voice around picking out food. But it's really expensive, so it's a complex problem, but it's in our work, a lot of our funding goes to trying to meet the nutritional need.
And I could add on to that with a story Seed to table, one of the most popular items is carrots. We can't possibly grow enough carrots, and the students, they come out and they harvest carrots, and we also donate produce to the sisters, or we provide produce for the Sisters School District lunches, and the nutrition services has started asking us to leave the tops on the carrots because the kids now associate that, like, oh, the carrots, when you pull them out of the ground, they have tops on it. And so the nutrition services calls us and is like, can you leave the tops on the carrots? And we're like, absolutely. And so it created a little bit of a janitorial issue the other day because the kids were, running around with carrot tops in the hallways. But I think it does have these long rippling effects. And then we're also finding that at the food pantries, we'll try and make sure that there's, not I eat a lot of carrots because it's a very quick and convenient way on the go. And so we'll try and make sure that there's bagged carrots, there's celery, there's cucumbers, there's things that we can just, and then trying to expose people, or just our staff will sit out there and we're also eating a cucumber sometimes. Just, you can eat those raw and just like that. And so I think providing different items for different scenarios, because we all need a way sometimes to eat quickly and conveniently, so yeah.
Gwen Weisling, City Club member, and thank you, panel, for this topic. And Bethlehem Inn started as a faith-based organization, and there's many faith-based organizations represented here. We're in this beautiful facility. This UUFCO provides fresh fruit and produce, as does First Presbyterian and Nativity Lutheran, is there a faith-based network that all of these compassionate faith communities can come together and work with you in a way? We have UUFCO serving dinner at Bethlehem Inn tonight. Anybody else can do that any other night of the week. But is there a way to weave those organizations together at this crucial time?
I have an example right now of, I think there's so many different partners and organizations and fingers of our food network that aren't even represented in this room, but I think we work with it's called Core Market now, and it's based on one of the churches that is in town that did start one of their markets. And so having kind of these different niches in our community of different ways to get food to different people, that allows us to serve a smaller kind of independent church-based organization as well. But that's a really great idea too, is just to, and again, that's how to connect the networks, which is what everybody here can be so powerful in doing.
So I will add real quickly, of our 57 partner agencies, many of them are faith-based. And I do know in Jefferson County there is an interfaith network. And I'm not aware of that in Deschutes or Crook counties, but if somebody here knows of that, I think that is a fantastic job or a fantastic idea, and something that I know all of us would lean into. So I would ask someone here if there's anything that maybe they're aware of. So I do see a hand up. Maybe we can get some more information.
Thank you. My name is Gail Weber. I'm a member of Trinity Episcopal Church, and we are one of the local churches here in Bend that has formed the Bend Action Coalition. We had a meeting here, I think it was in April, in this space, where we had over 400 people from our community come together to try and figure out what we can do in this current time to serve our local community. So it is a faith-based coalition. I would invite everyone here to take a look at our website, bendactioncoalition.org, and see all the work that we're doing. At Trinity, we have focused our efforts in, I think it's 5 different areas. We have groups dedicated to social and economic justice, racial justice, equality, protecting democracy. Did I get them all, Mary? Okay, and this is my partner in crime, Mary Keith. We have Valerie Farr and Betsy Warren are also from Trinity Episcopal, so thank you.
I don't normally need one, but hi. So I have a question. Are any of you looking for leaders in your various organizations, such as board members to serve, Renee's laughing, such as board members to serve and provide expertise in your various areas, or maybe just bring their own talent, treasure, time to your beautiful organizations?
Yes, in our growth, we are definitely expanding and looking for leaders. Our organization now, with our facilities, we're a multi-million-dollar organization, which is wild for me to even put words to. As I was talking to Audrey, because I've been involved from the beginning, so just a very humbling journey, but people who have led multi-million-dollar organizations and can help us scale and grow well. And so, yeah, we are in a very strategic growth point as we have massive growth in demand, but also wanting to honor the funding that's entrusted to us well. And so, we are looking for board members. We are looking for people to advise, people to support in just strategic ways, bringing their skills and talents in, and when we get that volunteered and given in, we can keep our overhead low and keep more going back to the programs.
I'll echo, Seed to Table is always looking to expand our network, and if anybody does feel excited about getting involved and potentially joining our board or a committee, and I just encourage you to come out and volunteer and get to know us a little bit more.
And I will add that, so Neighbor Impact it's what's called a CAP agency, a community action program. So we have 12 programs. We have over 250 employees at Neighbor Impact. So while I think the food bank is the best program there are very many other amazing programs. So we have a housing stabilization that helps with rental assistance and eviction prevention. We have Head Start. We have energy assistance. I could keep going, lending programs. So there is always an opportunity at Neighbor Impact for someone with expertise in so many areas that we would love any sort of advisory. So our board is very robust, and because it's a CAP agency, requires elected local officials, and we definitely require folks with lived experience, so that's very important for us. But anywhere from volunteering to some of our board members go to DC and do some advocacy work on the topics that we've discussed. So lots of ways for folks with all sorts of interests and expertise to get involved.
Likewise, at Mosaic, just go ahead and visit our website, mosaicch.org, or I've got some colleagues down here in the front. If Emily and Jen could wave for a second, you can talk to any one of us about your interests. Send us a note on the website, and there's plenty of ways to get involved.
Yeah, first, Chris Piper with Barrett Business Services. Thank you all for being here. You've enlightened me through the education that you've provided, and good to meet Audrey in advance to learn about Seed to Table. Was not aware of your organization, so look forward to learning more. My question is twofold. One, kind of the underlying theme here is action. What is it that we can do as an audience to help support you? So I'm curious to understand what are some of the mechanisms that we as business owners or employees of employers can put into our own place that you have seen through other businesses. The bags that you're talking about, the orange bags and the green bags, I think that's one step, right? But what is it that we can bring back to our place of employment, carry this education, set something up internally to help support you? And then the second question is on the legislative piece. On your websites, do you have kind of a turnkey process that allows us to become more educated on some of the policies and bills? And if so, is there a letter in there that we can hit send and, aggregate all that together and support you in that way. Thank you.
We don't have that on our website, but I want to now, so thank you for that. Excellent idea. I think for us, again, I'm under a larger umbrella of an agency, but food banks specifically, I think for businesses, again, we distribute 4 million pounds of food. So there are times where we will get in 10 field bins of loose apples that we need bagged so that we can get them to our partner agencies. So sometimes it's your business coming out and helping us repack apples or potatoes. And we want you to come to our facility. We just built a 10,000 square foot brand new facility. We want you to come see the work we do, meet our team. And so it can be as simple as a company team bonding experience coming out. We have a couple of major events at Neighbor Impact. One is Empty Bowls and one is Foodie Crawl. We're always looking for sponsorships. And I know that's just a money pitch, but our money we are nonprofits. I think, for companies, again, the bags, doing a competitive food drive with one another. That's always really fun too. If you are a business owner and you can do an employee match for a donation, that's always something that we have with a couple of companies. That's really nice. So if an employee donates X amount of dollars, the company will match it. But typically as a business, come see us, come see the work we do. And then I think you'll learn more about it and really just kind of fall in love with the work that's going on.
I would just direct people to the Oregon Primary Care Association website to learn more about the potential impact in Medicaid cuts across our state. And then the Feeding America website actually does have what you were talking about with like button to push and a call to action for food-related needs. And then in terms of, supporting how businesses can support, I think that's the standard ways that most nonprofits are out in the world asking for help. But I love the idea of team building activities. It's been so great when we've sent teams to go volunteer at Family Kitchen or at the food pantries. And so it's a great way to get involved.
I think the last thing is there's so much amazing knowledge and skills that are in this room and expertise, and that's as a nonprofit, especially as an executive director or program director, we're always joking about how many different hats we wore in a day. Like I was a grant writer and a farmer and a fundraiser and an accountant and, and I'm sure so many of you all can resonate with that. And so if you have skills that you can, any in-kind support as well, if you have an expertise that can support us, that's always really helpful as well.
I think, Chris, just getting it from the head to the heart is showing up with your team in the space that you're really thinking about partnering with. And I see it all the time, and it's just reiterating what was said, but people who have heard me talk and then they come into this space and they put their feet inside the space or they get their hands in the soil and they start to feel it and get it at a deeper level. And so I would just, if there's businesses in here that want to partner with a nonprofit, is getting your staff in there to feel it, because then their hearts will be in it versus just trying to reiterate what you heard today. So we have team building opportunities. We call them our power stalkers, and it's just a one-off opportunity to come in for a few hours and help us organize and beautify our store shelves. But it's really fun and gets people's feet in the door with a tour of the space. And so that's one way.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Amber Thatcher. I'm the Interim Executive Director for City Club of Central Oregon. Just want to thank you all for being here today and for engaging in this important conversation. I think you'll all agree what we heard today was more than just statistics and stories. It was a call to action, and there is a lot that you guys can do to be part of the solution to this problem. A reminder that it's not just about hunger, it's about dignity, equity, health, and strength of our community. So I think that really resonated today in the conversation. Our mission at City Club is really to foster conversation, informed conversation that leads to civic engagement. And so I'm hoping that you're leaving here today with an awareness, not just awareness, but inspiration to act, whether that means advocating for policy changes, supporting organizations like the ones represented on stage, but all the others in the room as well, and or simply having more conversations with your neighbors on this topic. If you are, we know that everybody's looking for ways to get engaged. You'll see on your table there's some handouts with not a completely comprehensive list. I will asterisk that, but a list of a lot of the organizations in Central Oregon working in food assistance, so a description of some of their programs, how to get in touch, so hopefully you can walk away with that. If there aren't enough on the tables, there's a few in the back, and you'll also have an attachment in the email that you'll receive at 2 p.m. today with the survey, and it'll also be posted on our website. So we're hoping that you can take what you've learned here today and put it to use to help fight this big problem in our region. Again, I want to thank our awesome speakers today. I think we'll all agree that we've learned so much, but also felt so much. So thank you guys for your time. As I say, I say it every time, but it takes a lot to put these forums together. And I also want to thank our forum team, which was led by Elaine Fardella, for putting this all together and putting the time in for making this conversation happen. I also want to thank our annual sponsors, and especially First Interstate Bank and Pinnacle Architecture for supporting this forum, and remind you that if you haven't brought perishable food with you to the forum to donate, there are orange bags on your tables, and Dawn is at the First Interstate Bank in the gathering hall at that table, so you can pick up an orange bag, take it home with you, fill it with all the good nutritious stuff, and drop it off at any local First Interstate Bank branch. And Dawn just announced that the program that they're running right now for food donations is going bank-wide across all their branches across all the states that they operate in. So the program is expanding beyond Central Oregon, which is awesome. Just some housekeeping notes. Our monthly forums are going on a little summer break, so we won't have forums in July or August, but we will be back in September with a really robust lineup through the rest of the fall, so be on the lookout for announcements about those upcoming forums. And then tomorrow, if you're a City Club member, you will get an email asking you to vote on our Members' Choice Forum, which is now the Jim Lucier Members' Choice Forum, and that will be the topic that we'll have a forum on in November. So keep an eye out for that, and keep an eye over the summer for our newsletter. If you're interested, if this is your first time, you don't know what City Club is, and you like what you see, we are always open to having new members join, and there's information on your table, on our website, so please check that out if you're interested in becoming a bigger part of the City Club community. Thank you all again for attending, and we look forward to seeing you back in September, and happy summer, everyone.